It's the final round of the Caterham Motorsports UK 7 and 310R Championships here from Snetterton, where so far the major talking point has been the weather.
The weather's definitely a factor. I mean, when we arrived at the circuit was damp. By the time we went out for qualifying, it was pretty much dry. There was a few damp patches, but actually it was pretty much a dry session. I think we're going to start the first race dry. Looking at the rain radar, I think probably about 3/4 of the way through the race it's going to start raining. So we're obviously thinking about that, and that affects tyre choices, it affects the setup of the car.
Well, so far the conditions are pretty favourable. It's dry, it's almost a little bit sunny as the cars head to the grid. Henry Heaton and Stephen Nuttall on row 1, with John Byrne, the champion-elect, choosing not to race this weekend. In the 310Rs though, the top 4 in the championship are covered by just 5 points, with 2 races to go. Lights out then, they're away and racing towards Rich's Corner for the first time. Henry Heaton versus Stephen Nuttall from the front of the 7 UK grid, and it's Heaton that gets the best start. Look, the blue and black number 10 car gets the lead with Nuttall second, Jake Swan-Dixon slots into third, and Mike Evans was away well from the outside of row 3. There go the 310Rs, Greg Monks and James Murphy just 2 points apart at the top of the championship, and they were together already, with Tom Grensinger joint second in the points and Lewis Thompson fourth, all still in contention coming into these final 2 races. At a blustery Snetterton 300 circuit, they all round the first couple of corners safely, which is a little bit of a miracle here at Snetterton. That Wilson hairpin almost always catches somebody out, but no major incidents as they weave their way now down towards Agostini. And Henry Heaton weaving around there partly to try and break the toe, also still trying to get some heat into the tyres. It is very, very chilly here this morning, and they're working hard to make sure they've got the grip levels underneath them that they will need when they get to some of the high-speed corners further round the lap. Out of Agostini then, up into Hamilton, and waiting to see what is happening at the front of the field. Henry Heaton had the advantage, but Stephen Nuttall is right behind him. Henry Heaton became the first man not called John Byrne to win a race this year, last time out at Donington Park, and that was a race that John Byrne was taking part in. That will mean a lot to Henry to get his first win in the category and to beat John Byrne in a toe-to-toe fight. Today, John is choosing not to race just to avoid the possibility of getting any late-season penalties that could cost him the championship, but it's leaving everyone else free to try and fight over the race victory, and it's Nuttall there that grabbed the advantage with the slipstream down the Bentley Straight and gets himself ahead of Henry Heaton. It's Swan-Dixon in third, it is Mike Evans in fourth position. Looking back to the 310Rs, Greg Monks has the lead, James Murphy second, Tom Grensinger is third. So the top 3 in the championship are the top 3 in the race in championship order as well for the time being. The odd one out is Lewis Thompson, who's a little bit further back and will need to try and gain some ground. He's the one that's furthest back in the points as well, so he really does need to try and start overtaking people. Rob Watts there in the red and black number 77 comes through, qualified 8th on the grid. He's running roughly in the same place now as they complete lap number 1, and Henry Heaton tries to do to Stephen Nuttall what Nuttall did to him half a lap ago. Use the slipstream down the straight to make an easy pass, but there's no such thing really as an easy pass in Caterham racing. 310Rs come through, still Monks, Murphy and Grensinger. Side-by-side action further back. The 115 there around the outside is David Yates trying to make progress, and right in front of him is Lewis Thompson, the 4th of our championship challengers. Hit the brakes into the hairpin. Monks a little bit wide there in the race lead. James Murphy thinks about getting up the inside, but to no avail, and very, very sideways for Graham McDonald. So sideways, he almost ran into the side of the 138 of Jeff Price, but Price will not only avoid contact, but will actually hang on to the place. Now for third place in the 7 UK battle, look at that, Mike Evans up the inside of Jake Swan-Dixon, wants to try and get himself onto the podium if he can. And Mike Evans has not had a podium yet this year, and he's already challenging for one as they head towards Oggies once again. Fair to say Evans has not been around for a full season of racing this year either, but still good to see that on his return to competition he is straight on the pace, challenging Jake Swan-Dixon. He's got Gordon Sawyer behind him, almost into the back of him actually as they go through Williams, because Evans was a little bit sideways in front of him. 310Rs come through. Monks from Grensinger now ahead of Murphy. So Murphy a couple of corners ago was challenging for the lead. He's now ended up losing that second place. And as they head into the Wilson hairpin, you can see that this lead train of cars is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're up to about 9 or 10 cars now, all in a long line. Now on board with Lewis Thompson, Tom Allen is the man in front of us that we're trying to get past. Someone's wing there goes flying as they turn into the left-hander at Williams. Lewis Thompson won at Thruxton in the second race of the day and hasn't been off the podium since. That's a 5-race podium streak, and he wants another, he needs another really, to try and keep his championship hopes alive. And a dive up the inside of Tom Allen into Agostini. That didn't work though, and so he'll lose a bit of momentum on the exit of the corner as a result. But look at this long queue of cars, and then a similarly sized queue further back, fighting over the positions outside the top 10. Wherever you are in the 310R field, you will more than likely have someone to race with. Lewis Thompson certainly does, gets a huge bite out of the curb on the inside at Oggies. He's teeing up Tom Allen now, trying to get this slipstream down the back straight, and Allen is sideways through Williams. This will help. He's out onto the dirt, he's through the mud, he's through the puddles, and that was the easiest overtake that Lewis Thompson will have to make all day. Picks up the toe from the cars in front and sets off after the leaders. Replay of the start, great start from Henry Heaton there on the inside of row 1. He was not to hang on to that lead for long, was he? Stephen Nuttall got past him pretty quickly. Now the 310R leaders then head down into the braking zone at Agostini. We now do have the top 4 drivers in the championship filling out the top 4 places on the track. We're on board with the 4th of those once again, Lewis Thompson. He's reeled in James Murphy. Thompson is 5 points off the championship lead. He is 3 behind Murphy and Grensinger, with Monks having this slender 2-point advantage over them all coming into this final weekend. Greg Monks at the moment doing all he needs to do then, just about, to hang on to the championship lead. But one slip up and you can easily go from the front of this queue to the very back, and that's a loss of about 10 positions and well in excess of 14 or 15 championship points. Ooh, left front wing there waving in the breeze for Lewis Thompson. He will want to make sure that that falls off, because that won't be helping his straight line speed. Tom Grensinger challenging Greg Monks for the race lead then, and Grensinger goes through. It all changes for the race and for the championship battle, with Tom Grensinger getting himself out in the win now. Monks now has to try and retaliate, has to regroup first really to stop James Murphy from following through as the group makes its way towards the end of another lap. Now can Lewis Thompson take advantage of this change in dynamic, change of momentum in the lead group ahead of him? If they start fighting, maybe Thompson could seize the opportunity to drive straight past the ball. Heads out of Murray's, up through the gears once again. Now we're well in the slipstream. Let's see if we can close in on James Murphy ahead. Murphy, of course, is also getting a tow from the cars in front of him, though. We are closing in slightly. The speed really building there across the start-finish line. Greg Monks goes to the outside of Tom Grensinger into Rich's corner. Can't quite do it. Grensinger hangs on, but the tight line in might give Monks the run on the exit. No, I think Grensinger will get across to the inside to defend. Murphy is attacking Monks, and Thompson goes around the outside of all of them. This is his chance to move into a podium place. James Murphy, though, will hang him out to dry, surely. They almost bang wheels, but there is just about a Caterham-sized gap left for Lewis Thompson, and he buys himself a ticket to the inside line at Williams. He will go through into 3rd position. This charge through the order from Lewis. He started 6th, but I think he dropped to 7th at the start because Tom Grensinger was behind him on the grid. Grensinger now leads, and Thompson is 3rd, but he goes for 2nd on the inside of Greg Monks. Locks up the brakes. I think he was trying to defend from Murphy more than attack Monks, but it worked. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective, and he's now got into 2nd place. So it's Grensinger that leads, it's Thompson 2nd, it is Monks in 3rd, and James Murphy all the way down into 4th position. So as things stand, Grensinger would take the championship lead into the decider, and Lewis Thompson would move himself well and truly into contention. He's shed that left front wing now, maybe that's making him quicker. Either way, he has been the man on the move in this race, and the 2 of the championship contenders that started deepest in the field are now at the head of the queue. In the 7 UK Championship, it is slightly less intense, simply because there is no championship battle going on, but there's still some really close racing. Gordon Sawyer has kind of separated himself now from the battle behind. Jake Swan-Dixon is in this, so is Rob Watts, trying to go around the outside of Mike Evans, but Mike, despite having lost his left rear wing, is still going strongly and holds onto the position through the right-hander. Rob Watts, though, sort of the meat in the sandwich here, isn't he? Because number 64, Tom Eden, is right behind him, and Tom, with a bit of a lock-up there, runs a bit wide. Number 21, Harry Kramer, is a part of this battle as well, and off has gone one of the 310Rs. That looked like Doug Christie, the 167 car, which was grass tracking at Rich's, and we're going to see how he got there. All on his own, I think. Couldn't see any contact there, just fell off the road, and thankfully the grass not too wet for the time being. Right, 310Rs as one, going down into Brundle and Nelson. Tom Grensinger hanging on, but James Murphy goes around the outside and somehow out of nowhere gets himself back into 2nd place. Phenomenal driving that from James. How he found a gap in the traffic, I do not know, but he's into P2, ahead of Lewis Thompson, who we're riding on board with again, as he tries to retaliate up towards Coram Corner. James Murphy, though, with one of the moves of the day already, has found himself back into the top 2, and every time one of these positions changes, it completely changes the complexion of the championship fight. This is brilliant stuff. Yes, we've had a shortened season, yes, that's helping keep the points nice and tight, but we know from years and years of Caterham racing that the championship always seems to go to the wire. This year is going to be no different. There's plenty of support from the pit wall as they go 4 wide into Rich's corner. The 4 championship contenders together, and it's Lewis Thompson that gets the advantage. Grensinger goes second, he runs out wide. James Murphy ducks back up the inside again. There's a spin down at Murray's corner for the 138 car. Thankfully, nowhere near the championship contenders. That was Jeff Price recovering from that moment. But what a brilliant bit of racing there. 4x4 for the championship victory. It doesn't get better than that. Well, further back in the 310.5 field, there is some equally entertaining racing going on as the rain has now arrived. Look, there's water on our camera lens, and somewhere Lewis Thompson maybe has been caught out by that because he's slipped back again. Now it's James Murphy with the lead. I think that's Greg Monks in second. Yes, because there goes Tom Grensinger. He was down to 5th. He's going back into 4th around the outside of a sideways Lewis Thompson. Millimetres between them as they go out of Palmer's and down the hill. Thompson was slow off that corner as well. Look at the way they've all run away from him. Grensinger goes to the outside, tries to get back into 3rd position. Oh, they're all getting very close and they've all got less and less grip with every corner. Grensinger fighting as if his championship depends on it. There's contact and he's off. Into the barriers goes Tom Grensinger from 2nd in the championship. His race is over and it could be the end of his championship. He just caught the end of the barrier. Damage to the right front corner. Grensinger is out. Well, this is the fight for the overall race victory within the Caterham 7 UK category. Stephen Nuttall was getting away from Henry Heaton slightly, but as the rain has arrived, Heaton has been able to reel him in, and he's now starting to seriously challenge amongst the back markers for the race victory. There's almost contact with one of the 310Rs there, but the checkered flag is ready and waiting, and it's a victory, a first victory of the year for Stephen Nuttall, with Henry Heaton coming home second, just a 10th further back. I think Gordon Sawyer should make it onto the podium in 3rd place for the 7 UKs. Brilliant racing. Now, this is important. This is the 310R battle, and James Murphy has the lead, but Greg Monks is in the slipstream to try and get it back away from him. It's a drag race to the start-finish line. Get the photo finish camera ready. It is a dead heat at the line, and remarkably, Greg Monks steals it by less than a 10th from James Murphy, and that will be crucial for the championship. Well, there is your result there. Matt Shepherd inside the top 5 with James Wingfield, Lewis Thompson on the podium, but James Murphy and Greg Monks, what a battle to the flag.
Solid race, really enjoyed that. It's funny that the rain came in just on cue. We were expecting 5 minutes before the end of the race, and we actually set the car up for those last 5 minutes, and I think it really helped. Although I had to fight hard right from the start, it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it, yeah.
Well, fantastic racing in the 310Rs. This is what it means for the championship. Look at that. Now going into the final race of the year. In the 7 UKs, the championship was already decided, but the race wasn't decided until the very end. Stephen Nuttall hanging on by just 15 thousandths of a second over Henry Heaton.
I really enjoyed that one. Henry and I seemed to get away at the start. Henry had really good pace the first half of the race, so I was just sort of sticking with him, being patient, knowing we'd gap the rest of the pack and sort of waiting for the rest of the race to unfold. So it was a game of chess and strategy, but then when the rain started coming down, that sort of threw everything out of the bag. So last corner into Coram got a bit hairy. It was already sketchy. Henry gave me a little help, and it sort of wore a pink with both going off. But anyway, did enough, so I'm really chuffed with it. Great race with Henry, good well done to him.
Stephen Nuttall then gets his first victory of the year. John Byrne already provisionally crowned the champion, and Henry Heaton should now hang on to 2nd place in the championship despite Nuttall's win. Well, fantastic racing here in the penultimate round of the championship for the 7 UK and 310R championships. Caterham racing at its finest.